All right. Hello and welcome to another one of our Shopify point of sale webinars. We're really excited today, but we're going to get very laser focused and specific today, talking about customizing the Shopify point of sale receipts. This is a question a lot of people ask us about. We hear a lot of people saying, hey, what can I do with receipts? How can I do something fancier with them? So if that's something you're wondering about, this is definitely what today is all about. Before we get started, as always, want to do just a quick little introduction of who we are and who's going to be leading the webinar. First off, we are Sunrise Integration. We are a Shopify partner, longtime Shopify partner, a development and integration company. So we do a lot of work with Shopify point of sale on the retail side, connecting it to the Shopify online, creating unified commerce solutions. So definitely a lot of experience on the Shopify side. In terms of today and today's webinar, we'll be talking about a couple different things. As I mentioned up front, it's really all about Shopify point of sale receipts. So how can you create the receipts? How can you edit the receipts? Do something fancier with them. A lot of people don't know there's a editor, like a code editor. So you can actually go in, for those of you who are a little bit more savvy on Shopify's Liquid code, you can get in there and do some really cool, very specific edits. And then, of course, in order to be green, we do want to talk about the paperless option, so how you can potentially do email receipts to everybody. For today's webinar, as always, it is led by myself and Patrick. I'm Dean. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Sunrise Integrations, also the architect on the Shopify's chief architect on the Shopify side. Patrick is joining us here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Patrick, e-commerce consultant and director of business development here at Sunrise Integration. I will be manning the chat for the most part today. So if you have any questions that pop up or just a funny thought to share, stay active in the chat. We love to see it. But yeah, no, looking forward to digging into receipts today.
Yeah, definitely. And as Patrick said, really to get the most out of this, we want to hear from you guys. So during the process, if you have any questions, if you have anything, Patrick will be keeping an eye on things. So he'll kind of interrupt me and we'll be able to answer questions hopefully in real time, so you guys can get the most out of this webinar. All right, moving forward here, let's talk about Shopify point of sale receipts. So first and foremost, what's really cool about the Shopify system is that when you've got the receipt printer hooked up to your point of sale, typically in the store, you can customize it. So Shopify has a couple different editors. There's a visual editor, there's a liquid editor. So you can go in and instead of just making it, hey, here's a receipt with some items, Shopify lets you do something a little bit fancier. So we want to walk through that. We're going to show you the admin and show you how that works. One question, though, sometimes we get asked is, well, do we even still need receipts, right? Is that even a thing? Do people necessarily want that? Well, you know what? There's really some great opportunities around that. So if we look at the receipts themselves, if you're running a retail store, you know that returns and exchanges is a really big part of the process. People are going to come into the store. They're going to want to potentially, if it's like clothing, they want to maybe try a different size or something like that. If they've got a receipt and you can put like a barcode or something on the receipt, then you can very quickly help them, right? It makes your customer service really fast, really efficient. If they don't have a paper receipt, you might have to look through the system or try to find their name or search or something like that. In a retail environment where things are moving really, really quickly, having a paper receipt is definitely very handy. So that's probably one of the more obvious things, that you would do with the receipt. A couple other interesting things that some people don't necessarily think about is the fact that you can use those receipts as also an additional marketing opportunity. Because if you think about it, you're giving somebody a piece of paper that they're walking away with from your store. This is the last opportunity that you have to kind of speak with that customer. If you're just giving them a list of what they purchased, you're kind of missing a great opportunity. So we're going to show you with Shopify how you can turn that receipt into an actual marketing opportunity, potentially putting some barcodes that lead to additional discount codes, or maybe linking off to some kind of a review, and maybe say, hey, give us some reviews or something like that. So there's definitely some really, really great opportunities. I do want to pop back over and chat with Patrick a little bit. So Patrick, from the business side, what are some of the things that you're seeing customers asking for when it comes to the point of sale receipts?
Sure. I guess two thoughts on this. I mean, one, it's one of those things that's just often overlooked, especially for newer brands in the retail environment that just don't understand, hey, this is another opportunity to make an impression with the customer, someone that's already bought from you, presumably. But even for larger brands, really the way I look at it is you wouldn't miss an opportunity to sell or to send a post-purchase email for an online sale. Why would you miss that chance with the customer in person? So you mentioned a few great examples, reviews, product recommendations, even just simplifying the returns process, putting your logo, adding some branding. It's really just another great way to make an impression and make your customer's experience with your brand just slightly better. So every business is going to kind of have like unique use cases and approaches to this, but I would encourage everyone to take a little bit of time to think about what they could be doing creatively with their receipts. And then the other thing, another great chance for for A/B testing, just like with email marketing, try different strategies, try different approaches at different locations for different times, or different approaches for different times of year, different seasons. Just something to stay active with and see where you can make improvements on the margin with your customer's experience or customer value. Yeah, any way you want to approach it.
Are you finding a lot of people are taking advantage of like QR codes and barcodes on the receipts?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what's easier than pulling out your phone and scanning a QR code? I think the whole world has gotten really used to using QR codes, partially due to COVID and what restaurants did with their menus. So I think it's much more of a common practice now. So using a QR code on receipts is a huge opportunity.
Great. So let's jump in. Why don't we go ahead and go into Shopify, and let's try to set up some receipts. Let's try to set up with the different visual editors. Let's show you guys in real time what things are going to look like. So I'm going to have a couple different screens here. On one side, we've got the point of sale, so I'll be logging into the point of sale. We also have the printer set up, so I'll be showing you us actually doing printers, printing out receipts, showing you what that looks like, and doing edits in real time. So hopefully you'll get a view of all of the different places and all of the different things that you can do with it. But everything is really going to start from here, which this should look familiar to those of you who are Shopify users. This is the Shopify admin. So when you are a point of sale customer, you're going to have this point of sale sales channel. Now, in your store, of course, you're going to have the POS unit itself. Typically in a retail environment, that could be like a tablet or a mobile phone. But of course, you're going to have a couple other elements as well in order to pull this off. And one of the first and foremost things is going to be this, of course, which is the printer. So all your stations are going to have a receipt printer hopefully hooked up. And in this case, we'll show you here, we've got a barcode scanner. So in this case, we've got the barcode scanner and the receipt printer. So every time somebody comes to the store, comes to the shop, they purchase something, we can print out a receipt and let them walk away with something. So if we go to the Shopify administration section, we will take a look inside of the point of sale sales channel and show you how you can start editing and playing with your receipts. So if we click into the point of sale, we'll see that there's a setting in here that says settings. And when you click into the settings, you'll see receipt customization. Pretty straightforward, right? You're going to do the settings for your receipt customization. So you're going to click into it. And by default, you're going to be in what Shopify calls their visual editor. So this is probably the easiest thing that you can do in terms of creating your custom receipts. You've got a preview here on the right-hand side that shows what the receipt is looking like in real time. And then here on the left-hand side, you have a couple different checkboxes where you can turn on and off different pieces of information. If you're running a retail store or a point of sale configuration where you have multiple retail stores, you'll see that there's this drop down here that lets you choose different stores. So you can actually make changes and customizations for the receipts for each of those different respective locations. So right now, I've got our San Jose store loaded up into our POS. So if we take a look at this default receipt that I've got here, you can see, pretty boring. There's not really a lot going on here. We've got the name of our store, we've got some line items, some totals, and that's pretty much what gets what is going to be printed when you give somebody a receipt. So I'm going to jump over to the actual point of sale itself, and I'm going to log into the point of sale. So when I log into the point of sale, if you're doing a transaction with a customer, you're going to create the shopping cart, they're going to check out, you're going to print out a receipt. I'm going to go to an existing receipt, so an existing order. So this is an order that I already have into the system. So I can either print a receipt when somebody's checking out, or I can even go back and print from a previous order. So I'm going to look at one of my previous orders here. I'm going to click on it, and you'll see that there's a receipt button right here at the very top right-hand side. And by clicking on that receipt, it gives you the opportunity to do a couple different things. You can actually print a receipt. You can email a receipt. We talked about that, and we'll get a little bit more in depth about doing paperless. Or you can print out a gift receipt. So assuming we've done no customizations whatsoever yet to our receipt, if we just click that print receipt link, the system will print out the default receipt, how it's configured in the system. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. I'm going to click that print receipt option, and then you'll see it's going to spit it out, and there you go. So now for my printer, you can see I've got just a really simple receipt, pretty boring. There's not a lot on there. If we go back to our Shopify screen, you'll see that it's basically a exact copy of how we have everything set up from within here. So let's make it more interesting. Let's add some more information to this receipt to give either some marketing capabilities or some more information to the customers. So here in the Shopify admin, I'm using the visual editor, and it's really easy. From this point forward, you can use the check boxes to turn on and off different pieces of information, and then it'll show up here on the right-hand side. So what's a simple thing that you can do to give yourself a little bit of branding? Well, why don't we add a logo? So instead of having a receipt that just has the name of our store, let's add a logo. So we can click here where it says logo, click add image, and I'm going to add a black and white copy of our logo, add it to the top. It's going to load it up, and there you go. Now instantly you've got a branded receipt that this will print out on the receipt. So you can choose a size. You can have kind of a medium logo or a large logo. I'm going to go with the large one here, right? I want to show as much as possible. So I'm going to hit save, and immediately you can see it's going to ask, is this a change that you want to do for all of your locations, or do you want to do it for just one location? So again, it's really powerful if you're running multiple retail stores and you want to give each of them unique receipts. Shopify's smart enough to say, hey, is this for one or for all? So I'm going to do just this one location to show you guys how we can make different receipts for different locations. So I'm going to say save just for this location. And then I'm going to go back. And you'll see if I scroll up again to the top here, my San Jose retail shop has the logo here on the top. So I'm going to hit save so we make sure that we have it saved. So if I switch to another location, so let's say I have my Los Angeles store, when I click on that, you'll notice on the right-hand side here, it doesn't have the logo on it. So any change you make here through the visual editor is location specific. So that's really, really handy. If you've got multiple stores and you want to create a unique experience for each of the different stores, this is really, really handy. So I'm going to go back to my San Jose shop. You see that I've got our logo on here. So now if I was to go back to the point of sale, and let's repeat that process again of printing out a receipt, I'm going to log in here into my terminal. So I'm going to go back to this page that I had with the receipt. Let's just pick another receipt for fun. If I click on the receipt and we print it out, now that we've added a logo, you'll see that we're going to have a much more interesting looking receipt. So I'm going to jump back over to this view. I'm going to hit that receipt, print it out. And so now you can see I've got a nice big logo here right on the top of my receipt. So, when it comes to marketing, branding is everything, right? You really want to get your brand out there, have something for people to remember you and your store and your brand. Here's the first step, right? This is something you're going to hand to your customer. They're going to put it in their pocket. They're going to keep it with them. And now it's got your logo right across the top. So your marketing department is really going to love that, right? Your marketing team is going to love the fact that you can get your logo, you can get your branding right there on the receipt. So in terms of changes that you're going to make, that's probably one of the simple ones that goes really a long way, right? Getting your branding, getting it right there on top of the receipt, so that way people have a little something to remember your store by. Now, if we look at the visual editor again, if we go back to the visual editor, you can see there's a lot of other stuff that we can do here as well. So we added the logo, which is a pretty simple change, and you can see it here in the preview editor. But we can also do a bunch of other things. So let's say, for example, like here in this header area, maybe we've got some kind of a cool catchphrase or some other fun thing we want to remember the store by. I can click where it says header, and I can say, okay, so we'll say this is our Sunrise store, so we're going to say, wake up to cool savings. I don't know, maybe they got some silly phrase or something like that. So you'll see that as I start typing something, it shows up here in real time on the right-hand side. So now I'm able to have my logo and I'm able to insert some kind of message in the header. Now I'm using it for some kind of a marketing phrase or something like that, but it could be anything, right? It could be information about that specific location. Maybe it could be something that a promotion for that location. But you can basically just type it right into the box right here into this editor and then save it on the receipt. And of course, any change that you make, you want to make sure you hit save so that way you're saving it for that location. And now the process is the same. So I can jump back here, I can click on the footer, and I can do the same thing. So I can say that, let's just say this is a message on the footer. And if I scroll down to my visual editor, you can see that that message that I added is showing up on the footer. So the visual editor makes it really simple. It gives you two places where you can add some information to the header, like we did here, and you can add some information to the footer. So these are two places where you can very quickly and very easily add some custom information to the receipt. And of course, any changes you make, you want to hit save, so that way you can make sure that it's saved. So those are two places where you can add custom information. One really cool thing is that Shopify has some other default pieces of information that you can very quickly toggle on and off to further customize the receipt. So one obvious thing that you're going to probably want is the store information, right? So if someone is getting this receipt, you're going to want to say, you know what, let me put my address for the store right on the receipt. So now you've got your logo, now you've got your store address. You know what, let's turn on the location phone number. So now it's got the phone number and the address for that location. Now, where is this information coming from? It's coming right from your location settings in Shopify. So if you've already set up all of your locations in Shopify, this information is getting pulled in automatically. So I'm going to hit save just so we've got it saved. And for those of you who might be trying to remember, like, where is the location information again? I'm going to go back to our settings here inside of Shopify, and I'm going to go to locations. And so these are all of my point of sale locations. So when I showed you that drop down that said, hey, here's all my different stores where I'm making a receipt, it's each one of those locations. So you'll see all of the addresses, all of the store names, all of the phone numbers are already set up in your system. So when you go to the receipt printer and you're editing the receipt printer and that checkbox is saying, I would like to add the phone number and the address, it's going to pull it from whatever location you have set. So you'll notice here on my Los Angeles location, it's got the Los Angeles. If I switch to my San Jose location, it's got my San Jose information. So that's definitely a real nice thing to make it easy and pulling in existing information so you're not potentially writing new information or adding something else. So what else can we do here? What other information can we put using the visual editor? Well, you'll notice here, these checkboxes lets you add a couple different pieces. So one really nice thing is the sales box. And I really like this because right at the very top, it anchors this really big amount. So right across the top, you've got this thing that says, okay, how much did somebody spend on their order? Boom, it's right here across the top. So this is a really nice setting to have on to really make the receipt really obvious, how much they spent, the store location, your logo, and how much they spent. So I feel from a default, this is definitely a great thing to have on. Now, there's a couple other things that you can have. Some stores potentially want to have the SKU, right? So maybe if you want to know the exact thing that somebody bought and you've got SKUs set up on all of your products, right? These are the actual stock codes. You'll see here that you can turn on and off the SKU here. So some people like having SKUs, some people don't. It really depends upon how you're handling stock for your store. But this is a really great setting here. So for each product that you've got, every line item, I should say, that's on the receipt, each one of these is applicable to every line item that's on there. So in this case, we have the SKU. So I'm going to say, you know what, for my receipt, that's a little bit too much information. I'm going to turn that off. Maybe that's not something that somebody wants. The next thing here is you have the compare at price. So what is the compare at price? So for those of you who are familiar with Shopify, the compare at price is where you can show, let's say the retail price, like the manufacturer's suggested retail, and then anytime you're giving somebody a discount, it will cross out that MSRP and then show you the actual sale price. So if I toggle this on, again, you'll see here's the MSRP here crossed out, and then you can see the price that you're getting. So I'll kind of toggle this on and off so you can see the difference, right? You can see it adds this here. Why is that cool? It's a good way to reinforce that your customers are getting a good deal, right? You're showing here right on the receipt that they're getting a discount. So when they're shopping at your store, they're not paying the retail price. You guys are getting everybody a good deal on the actual receipt. So this is something that's really useful to have here, is using this compare at price. So I'm going to leave that on for this in this example. I feel like this is a really cool thing that shows that they're getting a great deal. The next thing here is the staff attributed to the sale. So for a lot of shops, the retail staff member could potentially get some kind of attribution, maybe commissions, or maybe the customer wants to say, hey, who helped me that day? That person was really great. I really liked that person. By using this checkbox, then at the bottom, it will basically tell you who the person is who is attributed to the order, who's attributed to the order. Now, you'll see that on the actual, in this case here, I don't see it here in the preview because I'm not actually logged in. But if we turn this on, oops, I went to the wrong one, staff at the register. If I turn on the staff at the register, it will show you this. Now, of course, in this preview, I'm not logged in as anybody, so it's just showing you kind of the generic name. But if this was one of your actual team members, this is John or Patrick or somebody, you would actually see their name here attributed to the order itself. So this is a great way, again, to give staff attribution and potentially get some praise for customer service. So when somebody can looks at the receipt and says, yeah, so-and-so has helped me, they're really awesome. Another thing you can turn on is the order notes. Order notes are really handy because sometimes during checkout on the POS, you may add a note on the actual order itself. And that may say something like, oh, this person is going to come later for the pickup, or this isn't in stock yet and they're going to come by tomorrow. Who knows? There could be a multitude of information that you want to add. So the actual note on the order gets printed on the receipt here. So this is another kind of open box field that you've got on the checkout that shows up here. So what is that note? Where is that note? Let's pop over to the POS real quick for those of you who might not be familiar with that order note field. So let's say that I was placing an order, and I'm just going to put some products in the cart here. I'm going to order a couple things. I'm going to add it to my cart. So when I'm looking at the cart here, you can see that I've got the product that's in the cart. I've got the order total, right? So this is exactly what we would see on the receipt, but maybe I want to add an actual note to the order. So if I click on the menu here and I say add a note, this information that I put here, right? This here is a note. This is the text that would be printed on the receipt. So that note, if I scroll down here that you see that's on the order, will now be added to the receipt and you'll see it on here. So let me make sure that I saved that note. Yeah, there it is. So this note is saved on the order. So that is the note that we're seeing here when it says order note. So of course this is just a preview, so it's just putting in the preview information, but when you print this out, it would actually print the order note information there. And then lastly, customer information. So who's the customer, who actually purchased the products. You can toggle on and off to show the customer's information here at the bottom. So I'm going to save this. Let's print this out again so you can see what this looks like, and then we'll pause and see if there's any questions coming up about this. So what did we do? We added a logo, we added some address information, we added this cool total across the top, we put the customer's information here at the bottom, we added an order note. So we have some really, really cool stuff that we've added to the order. So let's jump back over to our POS. Again, I'm going to pick just a previous order that I already had in the system to make it easy. I'm going to click on this order. You see this person ordered a hoodie, ordered some cool stuff. We're going to click on the receipt printer, and then I'm going to click here where it says print the receipt. So if I switch over to this view, we're going to print the receipt. All right. So now if we look at this receipt, you can see all those cool changes that we did. We've got the logo on the top. We've got the store information that's added here. We've got the price, the big price box you can see that's added there. All of the line item information that you want. Of course, if there's any authorization information or stuff from the credit card, that shows up. And then that little message that we added on the footer might be kind of hard to see. You've got the receipt information, checkout information. So all of that now is on this receipt. So you can see with just a couple quick little check boxes, you can really get in there and do some really simple, powerful stuff to give you guys a little bit more of an interesting receipt. So why don't we pause here for a second, and I'm going to jump back over here to Patrick. Hello, Patrick. Any questions so far? Does anybody have any questions about what they're seeing?
We did have one question come through from Nelson asking about QR codes, and I'm 99% sure that we can add QR codes. I'll let you fill in the last 1% there. Yeah, that's it. Can we add QR codes to receipt? And then I guess I'd be curious to know what kind of use cases we would typically see for that. But I'll let you take it with the demo.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think this person is reading our mind, right? So that's exactly, one of the next things we really want to show here, which is, so we've got this receipt, we can turn on all this other stuff, but what about barcodes, right? Barcodes, as I mentioned earlier, is something that's really, really handy for a multitude of reasons. And so Shopify, through this visual editor, gives you the ability to do two different things when it comes to using barcodes and QR codes. So let's start with the most simple thing, which is you'll see here there's this barcode dropdown, and right now it's set to no barcode. So you have two options. You can use a regular, what's called the one-dimensional barcode, which is the barcode I think we're all used to seeing forever. These are just the generic type of barcode, or you can use the 2D type, which is the more traditional modern QR codes. So what is this setting turning on and off? This is the link to the order itself. So if you want to make it easy for your team to be able to scan an order and find the order when somebody brings in a receipt, that's what this setting is here. Now, real quick, why is there the option for 1D and 2D? Do they somehow have different pieces of information? No, they're the same information, but it's possible the barcode scanner that you're using, maybe it doesn't read the QR codes. Maybe it only reads just the regular 1D barcodes. So that's why the option is there. So these two barcodes aren't giving you any different information. It's just potentially being more compatible with whatever kind of barcode scanner you might have. So let's start with this first before we get to this QR code. So we've got this barcode. I'll use the 1D scanner for this, and I'm going to save this receipt. So what is this barcode scanner going to do for me? What is it going to change? It's going to let me print the barcode on the receipt. So when somebody comes to the store, we will then be able to quickly find their order just by scanning the receipt. So let's jump back over to the point of sale screen. I'm going to log in as a staff member. And let's pick a different order here for fun. So you see I've got order 1148. And I'm going to go to the receipt printer like we did before. And I'm going to print that out. So we're printing that order. And did I get the barcode on here? Oops, I forgot to hit save. Let's hit save. Always remember to hit save. That's the important thing. Okay, so let's try that again here. I'm going to pick a different order here. Click into the order. I'm going to click on the receipt. And we're going to print the receipt out. So print that receipt. Okay, so you'll see, now that I properly hit save, that this order has a barcode that's at the bottom here. And so you'll remember, if we look back at the point of sale screen, the order that we printed was order 1147. So let's say this person has this receipt, they walk away out of the store, and they come back a week or two later and they say, you know what, I would like to do an exchange. And you can very quickly say, hey, do you have the receipt? And they'll say, yeah, I've got the receipt here. So you can then take your barcode scanner, you can then take your receipt, and you can scan that receipt. So you'll notice if we look back over here at the Shopify screen, and I'll pop back over here, you'll see that it automatically found that order and then brought it up. So as someone at the staff for checkout, you now don't have to ask any information. You don't need to try to dig through past orders. You don't need to do anything. You just scan the barcode and this order pops up. And now you can see you're ready to do something. Now you can say, oh, you want to do a return, you want to do an exchange. Now you can start your process very quickly. And that's all done just by scanning in the barcode. So if you remember earlier when we were saying before, what's something you can do to really speed up the process? This is definitely it. Being able to just scan it. Again, we just scan it up and you see that the order pops up. If we look here, you can see that the order just pops up quickly. So to the question that I think it was Nelson who asked earlier, can you add barcodes? Yes. Are they super handy? Absolutely. As you just saw, it can make exchanges, it can make returns, it can really speed up that process by just scanning something right into the system, and it works really, really quickly. So definitely suggest using barcode scanners if you've got a barcode scanner. Definitely something you can do. Let's say, however, that maybe you don't have an actual scanner. So maybe you're not using a barcode scanner. Is there any other way to scan things inside of Shopify? Yeah, there actually is. So I'm going to go to the Shopify screen and close it. And for those of you who've used Shopify before, you may know that there's a little scan button that's here on the very top if you look at the very center of the screen. And by clicking that, it's going to bring up a little camera. And so with the camera, you could then take the order and, try to scan in. If I can find the right location for it, you can scan it in. And you'll see when you do that, boom, the order pops up. So even if you don't necessarily have a barcode scanner handy, you can always use the camera on the iPad to scan in any kind of the QR codes. And that's going to work with the 1Ds and the 2Ds. So that's, again, another quick way to take advantage of using the barcode scanners. All right, let's pop back here. So the other thing that you may remember from before was this thing at the bottom here that said QR codes, right? So this barcode scanner, you're basically going to turn this on and off here, and that's going to be this barcode that scans the order itself. If you remember earlier, Patrick was mentioning that there's a lot of customers who want to use the receipt as an additional marketing opportunity. So by turning on this QR code, you'll see that Shopify is going to give you the ability to say, okay, well, what do you want to call this QR code and what do you want it to do? So how could we use this as a marketing opportunity? So let's say we wanted to create a discount code that we put on the bottom of the receipt, and we give everybody 20% off, 10% off, or whatever the thing might be. We can create a page inside of our Shopify site and then link to that promotion page here. So I'm going to save this real quick, and I'm going to get out of the receipt editor and show you what I mean. If I go back and I go to my regular online store and I go to my pages section, let's say the marketing team has created a page that says, we want to make a page that has a discount promotion visible on it. So the marketing team goes in, they write some text. I've added this meta field here for our example that just says, okay, marketing team, all you need to do is paste in whatever discount code you want to have featured into this box, and we'll automatically display it on a page. So for those of you who have worked with Shopify pages, this is a way to go in and create a custom page. So we've taken one of our discount codes that we already have inside of the system here, this 20% off discount code. We've created a page inside of Shopify with this custom meta field that displays that code on this page template. So if I switch over to my other tab here, this is what that page is going to look like. Again, I just did it kind of quick, so the design might be a little boring, but this is what it looks like. And so this page is going to have a URL attached to it. So what I can now do is I can now go back to my point of sale. Where is it? There it is. My point of sale. I can go back to the settings and we can say, you know what? Let's put a QR code at the bottom of that receipt that takes them to that promotion. So I'm going to go back to the San Jose one that we were using from before. And you see here it says custom QR code. I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to paste in the URL of that discount promotion page. And then we'll say something cool like, thanks, please scan for 20% discount on your next order. I don't know, whatever the text it is that you wanted to say. So now if we look at the bottom, you'll see that the text that you've added and the QR code are now on the receipt. So if we save this and we print out this receipt, you're now giving the customer, when they walk away with the receipt, a promotion code that they can scan at any time. So when they scan this code, it's going to take them to this page. And this page can be, like I said, can be managed maybe by like your marketing team or somebody. So they could potentially switch this page out really, really easy, make it say something else, maybe have different promotions, change the look and feel. It can be whatever you want. And as long as you don't change the actual page itself, all of your QR codes on the receipts could have a link to this page. So this is a way to really take your marketing to another level. Instead of just saying, hey, the receipt, and they're going to throw it away, you could potentially put some urgency here saying, hey, here's a limited code or a limited time. And so maybe you link to a page that expires in a week or maybe expires in 2 weeks or something like that. So here's a way that you can really build some urgency, build some marketing into the actual page. And then when they print it, they can basically walk away with this. And so if we save this, once again, I'm going to save it. And let's jump back over to the point of sale screen itself. So let's go to the orders. Let's go to one of the receipts. And let's print out that receipt. And we take a look at the receipt. So you'll see we've got the barcode for the actual order, and then we have that QR code there at the bottom. And then now you could scan that QR code wherever you are, and it would take you to that promotion page. So if somebody is maybe sitting at home and they're thinking like, oh yeah, that's right, didn't I have some kind of cool promotion? They'll take that code, they'll scan it, and then boom, it takes them to this page here. So definitely a great way to build some brand loyalty, give people a little extra promotion or a little extra bonus for shopping with your company. I'll pause here. We'll jump back over, Patrick. So is that kind of what people are doing with the QR codes? Does that process look about right? Kind of offering promotions, offering different incentives?
Yeah, definitely. The one thing I would say is might make sense to kind of daisy chain that with your email or SMS marketing platform. So if you're not getting their email address or contact info at the checkout, it's really just another opportunity to grow your marketing list, both for email and SMS. It can still be kind of a unique promotion that's specific for in-store shoppers or for that location, but tapping into email marketing and stuff for more, points of contact later on. But yeah, absolutely. It's exactly what we're seeing people use it for.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. Definitely want to make sure you got people's email addresses for sure. Okay. Any questions about that, Patrick, or should I jump over to the code editor now?
No, I'm just double checking the chat. No other questions have popped up from the attendees quite yet. Just a reminder, keep them coming. If anything pops up, throw it in the chat. We'll make sure to answer your questions live here on air. But I guess we can go back to the regularly scheduled programming.
So we've seen the visual editor, right? That's the simple way of doing things. If you're maybe not super savvy with coding or you're not familiar with Shopify's Liquid, this is the most simple thing that you can do. And I think for most use cases, you're probably pretty good. Now, for those of you who may be running what Shopify has, which is their Point of Sale Pro, you're going to have an extra level of customization, and that's to use the actual code editor. So how do you get into the code editor? Again, if you're on POS Pro, you'll see this context menu here. When you click on it, you'll see that it says Edit Code. So when you click on this edit code, a little reminder will pop up and it's going to say, hey, you're jumping into the code editor, be aware. Now this is one place where, because you're using the code, it works slightly differently, which is you are now going to make code that's applicable to all locations at once. So you're not going to be able to switch around, have code for each different location. You're just going to have one set of code. So if you're trying to do something that's location specific, this is where you're going to have to be a little bit savvy with code. You're going to have to use Liquid to put some smarts into the system. Now, you can always toggle back between the code editor and the visual editor. You can certainly always kind of toggle back and forth, but this is just a reminder to let you know that if you make any changes inside of here, it's going to apply to all of your locations at once. So let's say, yep, this is in fact what I want to do. So I'm going to click on the code editor. It takes a second to pop up. And then what's going to happen now is you're going to see the editor with the code and the preview on the right-hand side. So you'll see that you've literally got, maybe I'll zoom out a little bit so we can see a little bit more code. You'll see on the left-hand side here, it's showing you some of the Liquid sections. In the middle, it's showing you the actual Liquid code that's being used. And then on the right-hand side here, it's showing you a preview. So again, this is really for somebody who knows some coding, right? You need to know some HTML, you need to know some CSS, you need to know a little bit of Shopify Liquid. If you know those three things, then this should not look scary. If looking at this code is making you go cross-eyed, then I would suggest not doing this. But for those of you who are savvy, now you can just jump in here and start adding information. So if we look at the Liquid code, for example, here, you can see that we've got this little Liquid snippet that says header. So we know that there's the header section here. You can see this display header. That's this box that's here. You can see that it's rendering the line items, right? These are the line items. You can see it's rendering the transactions. You can see it's rendering the footer. So maybe, for example, you're saying, you know what, I want to add something after the line items. So I can literally go in here and start typing code or even just text, right? I'll just show you text to start with, right? You know, this is text. And so you'll see that I'm literally putting in whatever I'm typing, and you see that it shows up right here underneath the line items, right? This is the Liquid that's rendering your line items, and this is the text that you're putting in. If you are, again, maybe a little bit more savvy coder, maybe you want to say, okay, let's maybe put like a div inside of here. And I'm going to say, you know, important info here, right? So I can put some important info here. And again, if you are a savvy person with CSS, now you can say, you know what, why don't I render out something here? So maybe I'm going to say font size like 30 pixel, something obnoxious, right? So now you can see that my CSS, my inline styling, my text is now showing up here on the receipt. And you can do that anywhere, right? You can literally move this text, you can copy and paste this div and put it anywhere you want, or you can put in new information just like you would the code editor anywhere else. So I'm gonna, let's say I wanna copy that, maybe I wanna put this at the bottom of the page here. So you can see now that I've got that important info here. Or maybe this is a promotional code, right? So maybe we can say here, hey, you know, promo code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe you can paste in a promo code that you want to use. And this is all just regular HTML. So anything that you can do on the HTML side or CSS, you can put in here using the code editor. So this is definitely a real handy thing to have for those of you who are savvy with that. Now, one extra level of coolness, again, if you're savvy with code, is that you can tap in to a certain set of liquid variables. So there is a help page on the Shopify side that shows you what are those liquid objects that you can use. So if you want to further edit the receipt, you can tap into this certain kind of shop information. That's your actual store itself, the location it is. So my San Jose location, my Los Angeles location, you can pull information from there, the order information itself, and the gift card. So these are the actual objects that you can use. So this page here, if you guys are trying to use the code editor, I would suggest clicking the link. There's a link on the code editor page that gets you to this, so you can see how to use some of these different objects. And then, you know, if you are familiar with using Liquid, you can use certain types of Liquid filters, and as I mentioned before, certain kind of Liquid code if you want to do if statements. So we're saying, hey, if this location is my Los Angeles location, show this information. Otherwise, show this information. So if you're savvy with code, you can certainly do that. So how would we use some of this code, right? So let's say, for example, we want to tap into some of the order information. If I go back here, so where it says promo code down here at the bottom, right? You see I added this kind of big obnoxious thing here. Maybe I want to style it a little better here. Let's put a break here so there's a little bit of space underneath that one. So you can see I'm just using promo code. But let's say I maybe wanted to change that to put in like store information. So Liquid uses these double brackets, and this is how we know we're putting in some Liquid code. And if you remember before, there's some objects that are available to us. So I'm going to use the order object. So if I just start typing order, you'll see, and I put this dot here, you'll see now it's going to say, here are some of the objects on the order object that's available that I can use. And these are the variables. So this is actually pulling it dynamically from the order itself. So let's say, for example, again, I'm just, pulling any kind of random information here, right? If I wanted to put the shipping address, if I wanted to put tax information, right? These are all the different pieces of information that are available. Let's do something really simple, which is that order number again, right? If I click this order name, you'll see order number 1148 is being represented by this Liquid variable here. And so this is the easy way for me to say, okay, like on my receipt right now, I've got the total, I've got this, but I'm not actually showing the order number. So you can see here, I'm using the Liquid variable. And so now at the bottom, I can say, hey, this is your order number. And now you've got order number, and you're dynamically pulling that in on the receipt. So again, those of you who are comfortable using Liquid code and editing code, this is how you can really go in here and put in different pieces of information. So maybe I want to say, you know what? I don't think there's a customer on this particular order, but if I had customer information, the customer ID, line items, the name, if there's, like mentioned before, the note, if there's any kind of note information, it would show up here. So this is how you can use different objects on here. If you remember, there was a location object, right? So I'm going to say location dot, and now this is going to be the location for that they're using to check out. So for example, if they were in the Los Angeles store, I could say, hey, let's put the city name here. And, we could say, hey, your store and the San Jose store. And so you can tap into all the variables for that specific location that's being used through these Liquid variables. And even if you've got some meta fields that you've created, right, you can start tapping in. You can see if you're savvy with Shopify and using the code, you can really do a lot of really cool stuff. Maybe you want to make sure they don't forget that they've got the phone number here, right? So here's your store. Here's the phone number for that particular store. So using any of the objects that are shown here, you can see we can tap into shop information, order information, gift card information, and then you can use the code editor, you hit save, and now your receipts will have this information printed at the bottom. And again, remember, this is for all of your receipts. So when you use the code editor, this is going to print for everybody. Now it'll be smart it'll know that if I'm at the one location, it'll print the appropriate name, right? It's not going to print the same phone number for everybody because this is dynamic, but the look and feel, the layout is going to be the same. And if you do want to target different stores or different locations, now you can start putting in some if statements. Like you see, for example, here, like if the location name equals a certain name, print this information or print this information. So like if we literally wanted to copy this code out here, let's go back to here. So we could say your store underneath here and then paste this in. So now we've pasted some liquid code here. Let's make sure that we've got everything savvy in here so it looks a little bit nicer. So we've got this location information here. We've got an else statement for this. Maybe we just want to have this one shop and say, you know what? If I've got this shop and my location, again, I would have to put in my actual name of the store here. It would only print this if it's here for this if statement here. Now I need to know what my store name is here, like LA. I forget the name of the location, but this is how you would actually put that in here with that location. So you got to definitely be savvy using Liquid code to render everything. And then you can just go in here and change. Again, this is just standard HTML. So if you just want to fundamentally change information for what's in here, like so for example, this price box, you can say, you know what, here's the text that I've got here, maybe I want to make a bigger radius box on this or something like that, right? So I have a big old circle box. So now I can adjust that. If I want to adjust, if you have a color printer, maybe you can adjust that, change the padding. Maybe you just want to, you don't want to have a bold, maybe you want to keep it a normal color. You can say a normal color. You can change the font size. Here you can see it's using a variable for the font size to inherit. You can certainly change that in general if you want to just go in here and code in something very specific and say, I want that to be 50 pixels. Boom, it's really big. So again, if you're savvy with coding, if you're savvy with Shopify Liquid, you can really, really do some cool stuff and make the receipt exactly how you want it. So I would suggest, if this is something you're interested in, checking out this page here to get some help and support on that. If you're not sure how to get to that page, you can always click the menu inside of here, and you've got this support link here, which will take you to that page that I was just showing you. If this is too daunting and you want to pull the ripcord, you can always just say, you know what, I'm going to switch back to the visual editor. And then you can get back to a much easier WYSIWYG interface. And again, it does remember your settings. So if I go back, however I had it set before is remembered inside of the system. Okay, so kind of a high level. There's a lot to do with code. There's definitely a lot that you can do there here. We are kind of reaching the end of it, so I definitely want to jump back over to our end of the webinar Q&A. Welcome back to Patrick. So hopefully that looked interesting. Hopefully I think some people will know how to customize their receipts and do some kind of cool stuff. Patrick, do you have anything you want to add, any questions or anything that we can say here before we kind of wrap things up for this one?
Sure. So no other questions popped up in the chat, but I'll say that, just like with any other marketing tool or customer touch point, doing even just the basic of adding your logo, putting a simple QR code, personalizing it in some way is going to get you, 80% of the benefit that you could be getting from this endeavor of customizing your receipts. At scale, going into the code and doing some really cool, unique things Also definitely worth exploring. But I would say, for brands out there, if you're just got an e-commerce store and you go to your local farmers market and you sell there just with your single point of sale device, take these steps, get people to your website, get people to subscribe to your product or subscribe to your newsletter. Really just doing, a little bit of effort here can make sure that you're getting most of the benefit that you can extract from customizing your receipts. So really cool stuff here. I'd love to dig into the coding and what all is possible, but if anyone watching today has a particular use case or something that they want to talk about, receipts or otherwise, we'd love to set up some time to chat and consult on what's possible and what the level of effort is to achieve your vision. But that's it from my side, Dean.
Well said, Patrick. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right. So, like Patrick said, if anybody out there, if you are interested in POS, Shopify point of sale, if you need some help with your point of sale, you need configuration, we do all that stuff. We can help design apps. We can do the installation and configuration. Our home offices are here in LA. So if you're in the Los Angeles area, we do have a special promotion for Los Angeles based retailers. Feel free to go to our website and hit us up. We will continue the webinars. We like to do webinars every month. And next month, we're going to close out our Shopify POS series by looking at the POS terminal. For those of you who aren't savvy with the terminal yet, it is the customer-facing interface to the point of sale. So up until now, we've been showing you the receipts, we've been showing you the tablets, but now this is the actual terminal device that your customers will use. So they can tap, they can insert their cards, they can apply tips. All the stuff that you need to do with your customers can be done from this terminal here. So we're definitely very excited to talk about that next time. So thank you all for joining us on this webinar. We look forward to seeing you on the next one on March 20th. Thank you, Patrick, for your help. Thank you, Shopify, for everything. And hopefully we'll see you guys on March 20th.